the good life, full of fun.
Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Got a big day today. Big day. It's gnocchi day. How you doing? One of my favorite dishes is gnocchi. One of my favorite memories of making pasta is a gnocchi with my grandmother on her board, which you guys probably heard me talk about with different pasta dishes. What else is very exciting is our camera person, her favorite dish is a gnocchi. So real exciting to bring one of my favorite recipes of gnocchi with you. We're gonna make a gnocchi with a vodka sauce. Oh, can you taste it right now? Absolutely delicious. So I went ahead and I jumped just a little bit further to save us some time, but I'm going to walk you right through it. They're easy, they're a lot of fun. This is a great recipe and certainly pasta to make with your kids because it's a great tradition to set with your family. Even if you make a mess and you wreck it, doesn't matter, it's still a lot of fun, okay? So let's get going. Let me show you how to do this. We're going to start off with 6 russet. It's got a good starch content, so we're going to go with a russet potato, okay? And I'll teach you exactly how to work with those. That's great. We're going to use about 2.5 cups all-purpose flour, nutmeg. Nutmeg is Italy, I'm telling you right now. So I got 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. I've got 1 teaspoon of my gray sea salt, okay? I've got 3/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, and I've got 3 eggs. So 3 to 4 eggs. If you gotta add moisture, you're gonna add the eggs. We're gonna add some salt. We're gonna add some olive oil. Oh, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. Vito and Joe's extra virgin olive oil, right from Italy, Puglia region. Absolutely delicious. Oh, yum. So we'll be using some of that. And we got to have a gnocchi board, right, to put those ridges in. The ridges help hold the sauce. We're going to use a baker's knife. We're going to use a regular knife. And a ricer. Ricer is critical when you're making gnocchi. So remember, when we make a gnocchi is Italian word for dumpling. It's basically a potato dumpling is what you're making. But you want to make it light and airy, and you want to have it full of flavor. A gnocchi should stand on its own, like a good pasta should stand on its own without even sauce. Sauce is just enhancing the flavor if you make a gnocchi great. Plus you don't want it gooey and doughy, okay? You want it light and airy. And that's what a ricer, potato ricer is going to do. So that's a critical aspect of making gnocchi. So let me get started. We're going to start off with 6 potatoes. Now I already went ahead and baked these and I riced them already for you, okay? The trick is you're going to take them, don't fork them. Traditionally you're taught to fork a potato. You don't want to do that. Let me show you why. With our 6 potatoes, let me move some of this stuff out of the way because we're going to make a disaster here in a minute, okay? With our 6 potatoes, when you cut it, you want to peel it. Now you still want it warm. It's not hot, okay, but this is still warm. You can probably see a little bit of steam coming out. What you want to do is just that. You see that? How the peel comes off? If you fork it, what happens is you give the steam, the moisture, a place to escape, and it won't peel for you. If you don't fork it, it'll peel really easily, okay? So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take the 6 russet potatoes, right? You're going to split them. I'll show you how easy this is, okay? Ideally, if you can, okay, without making a mess, try to work with everything so it's still warm. I'll tell you why. 1, you want that moisture to release. 2, everything mixes better. You don't want to work the dough a lot, and the warm potato starch will mix really easily. If you let everything get cold, it doesn't mix as well, which means you got to work the dough more. And unlike a pasta where you're trying to build a whole bunch of elastin, you're not trying to do that here with a potato. Second tip here, if I'm on my 4th or 5th, it doesn't matter. But anyways, my other tip is bake the potato. Now some people boil them. You don't want to do that because, again, if you want something really light and airy, I can remember my grandmother here, I'm just having a flashback, peeling the potatoes just like I'm doing with a knife. It's so funny. But if you boil them, you add too much moisture. Even if you leave the skin on, it still adds too much moisture. And it can create a gooey dough. You don't want to do gooey, okay? All right, so here you go. We've already got this set, and I just did this. And this is really easy. We're going to put our potato in there, right? Now watch this. And this is great. And this works away the guilt of making gnocchis because you have to work really hard to rice it. Look at that. See how nice that is? See how nice and airy that gets? Whoa, look at that. Squirting all over the place. Okay, that's beautiful. So I'm going to do that. I already did my other 5, right? I'm going to take my last one here, pop it in the ricer. We're jumping right in it today. Isn't that great? So we're going to go like this. And again, just nice and slow. And that's what you want. That's another great way to make mashed potatoes too. You want to make nice light, whoa, look at that. Nice and airy mashed potatoes. Beautiful. Okay, and then just scrape it off. Now rices are cheap. You can get them right on, you know, online, on any of the cooking stores. You can get them on eBay, whatever you want. All right, so there's our 6 potatoes. All right, so I'm going to set this in here. I made a little bit of a mess, but that's all right. Okay, and then I'm going to take my potato peel. I'm going to put that in the sink as well. Okay, you just don't want to have any skin. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump to it. We're going to take, real easy. We're going to take the potatoes. The kids love this. I'll tell you, if you got some young boys in the house, they'll love this because they like making a mess, right? They love making a disaster. And that's what you're going to make. It's going to start off as a disaster. Now you see this is still warm. You'll see a little bit of the steam coming off. Oh, and that's good. So it's got a really nice flavor. See how nice and light and airy that is? That's what you want. You want that light and airy, okay? Now, real easy. We're going to take our salt, spread it all over. Just make life a little easier. Make sure everything's mixed up really good. Our nutmeg. Oh, I love nutmeg. Nutmeg is just Italy. It just gives you that flavor. And it's just enough. Remember, a little bit of nutmeg goes a long way. It's just enough to give you a taste, but not anything overpowering. Okay, now we're going to add our cheese. Now I like Parmesan cheese. Okay, so it's going to give it that nice cheese background. Parmesan's creamy. And I like Parmesan in this instance because it's not too salty. Like Romano cheese is really salty, okay? Which is great, but now if you guys remember my tips on eggs, right? Crack the egg over something clear, so in case you get any shell you can see it, and always mix the egg. So we're gonna mix the egg before you mix it. That way when you put it on here, oh, look how nice that is. When you put it on there, the egg's already mixed, and you're not trying to mix the dough to mix the egg, okay? So what we're gonna do is that, and then I'm just gonna put a couple of spots. You're almost making like a well, but not fully. And why am I doing it this way? Just so the egg doesn't go all over, okay? And then I'm gonna put my egg in there, okay? If we're gonna add moisture, I'm not a big fan of adding water, if you guys have watched our videos before, okay? And now comes the fun part. Now it's just goo time, right? So I'm gonna do a really light mix just to get everything in there, okay? Now there's a lot of moisture in the egg, and there's a lot of moisture in the potato, right? And what I love about doing it this way rather than your hand right away is you're not mushing the potato, so you're not hurting that air. Whoop, there's a little piece of skin. Ah, you tried to get in my gnocchi. No, you're not getting in my gnocchi. Okay. Because that's going to ruin your gnocchi. You don't want a big piece of Idaho skin in there, okay? So this is what I like to do first. I like to just mix it all up, okay? Now, here's the other point. This is where the Italian cooking comes out, where a lot of times bakers have a difficult time because they always want to know exact measurements, like you're making a chemistry experiment. Potatoes vary in size, eggs vary in size, moisture content varies in size. So you're never going to get everything exactly right, okay? So you're looking for a certain texture. I've got 2 3/4 cups of flour. We're not going to use all that in those cases, but we might use most of it, okay? So I'll show you the texture we're looking. So we want about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, which I like to put in after I give it a quick mix. And then our last is going to be some pepper. So we don't want a lot of pepper. You don't want a gnocchi to taste peppery, but again, it's going to add flavor. And I like to do it just like this. That way everything really gets mixed well. Unfortunately, my music is cut out on me. But that's not a problem. I could sing to you today. Oh, maybe not. Okay. I do like to sing Sinatra, though. I'm not really that good, you know. A lot of times if you're at a wedding or a gathering, somebody will say, "Hey, Joe, you like to sing Sinatra?" And I'll get up and I'll sing, you know. And I think I'm better than I am, but it's more of like a novelty. Everybody listens and they laugh and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I think I'm better than I am, so then I'll sing 2 or 3. At that point, they're sorry they asked me to get up and sing. So, okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add some flour, okay? Now, what I'm going to tell you to do is before you use your hands, the point I'm making is the last thing you want to do is use your hands. I worded that poorly. So And the other point is I'm going to try to do this without getting it all over myself. And I have a black shirt on, and sometimes I will do good at this, and I will pass this test. Sometimes I will not. All right. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and mix this up a little bit, okay? And we're just, the goal here with this is, whoop, lost a little bit. You see how you're just incorporating it? And if you use your hand, you start to mush it and you start to lose all that air. And we don't want to start building up any type of elastic feel until we absolutely have to with our hands, okay? So the flour is going to create that paste, if you will, that dumpling feel, okay? And I can tell right now, see there's a lot of moisture in there and it's not making a dough yet, you know? So we're gonna add some more flour, but that's fine. And I'll just keep mixing this along, and then what I'll do is I'll just tune back with you in a minute and I'll show you exactly what we're shooting for, okay? So we'll be right back. Hey guys, good news, radio's back on. All right, so I've been working this here just for another like 4 or 5 minutes since we've been off. And what you're gonna see is, you see how it's starting to build like a foundation to it? It's starting to hold itself together, right? So that's why I like to do it with the baker's knife, because it just gives me that ability to make a dough without working it. I don't want to work it, or I want to work it as little as I can, okay? Again, once you start working it, it'll make it gooey. You don't want to have a gooey dumpling, okay? No gooey dumplings, all right? So look at, I barely worked this with my hand. I just used a baker's knife, right? And it's maybe just a touch on the wet side, but we'll use a little flour and then I'll dry that up. So I've hardly worked that at all, but see how it stays together? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make some gnocchi. So let me get a little flour and I'm just gonna put it on the board. I'm gonna roll them out, and I won't make them all, but I'll just show you how to make a few. We can cook them right away. I have some fresh pasta with some vodka sauce. Molto delicioso, it's gonna be delicious. So hold on one second. Okay guys, so what I do is I'll just put a little pile of flour off to the side, right? And then I'm gonna take a hunk of dough, right? And right there, see, you can smell the salt, the pepper, the olive oil. You can't smell the nutmeg, but you know, you can smell something, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna take about half of that, okay? And just to make it easy to work with, you know, so you don't want to put too much flour, and you don't want to work it too much. I don't mean to keep saying that, but I'll tell you, if you want a really delicious, which I know you do, light, airy gnocchi, tough to say, right? Gnocchi. So it's kind of like N-Y-A and then key, gnocchi. Kind of gives you a heads up. Our music's quitting again, doesn't matter, because just cooking is enough music for you. So, all right, so here we go. Look at that, I'm out of breath. You're ricing it, you know, the ricer itself is nice because you burn calories when you do the ricer. So you're gonna get this thing going about a ½ inch down, okay? And they're time consuming to make, but you know, there's so much fun. You can sit there on a nice rainy day in the winter, maybe there's nothing to do. They're common on Sundays in Italy. So I'm gonna grab my knife here, okay? So I talked to you about, so you're gonna go about this big, okay? A little bit bigger. I talked to you about using a gnocchi board, but you can use a fork. You know, my grandmother used both, and I used to have this old antique gnocchi board, and then I let somebody borrow it, and you know what happens there. All right, so here we go, right? So that's it, right? So here's our gnocchi board, and it's real easy. All you're gonna do is you're gonna take it about halfway up the board, and you're gonna roll it. So see how it puts those grooves in there? And the back has got like a nice flat little dent, right? So that's one way to do it, right? And just bring it right down, look at that, right? Come fly with me. We need a little Frank Sinatra today, because my music's bad. Fly away. I've had no wine or alcohol today, I just want to throw it. So let me show you a few on the gnocchi board. Now a lot of people, you know, you watch this video, you're gonna be like, I don't have a gnocchi board. Okay, well if you don't have a gnocchi board, you're gonna take a fork, right? And you just take the tongs or tines of a fork, right? And that gives you a different look. And what's key, not only is that look traditional for a gnocchi. It's traditional to have that, right? Which is kind of cool and cute. But remember, the point of having these ridges, anytime you look at pasta and you see these ridges on pasta, the beauty of that is the ridges are always going to be to hold a sauce. Now gnocchis a lot of times do a cream sauce. One of my favorite sauces, which we're not going to do today, is my mouth's watering just thinking about it, is a butter, cream, and truffle sauce. I love that. Oh, and it's not, even though it sounds heavy, you don't put a lot of sauce on it, You put just enough to coat them, then you hit it with a little Romano cheese on top. Oh! Now the trick on keeping these is this. If you make a bunch of it and you want to freeze, like we're not going to eat all that today, so we're going to freeze it. Freeze it individually. So take some parchment paper and freeze it so the dumpling gets totally frozen first. Then after it's frozen, you're going to put it on a tray, a pan, Tupperware, whatever, and then you layer it with the parchment paper. Then when you take it out, don't let it thaw because it'll all get gooey and stick together. When you know you're ready to use it, take it out and then put them in frozen. Just takes a couple extra minutes to cook, okay? And they'll last a long time in the freezer, right? All right, guys, here it goes, right? So real easy. Look how fresh those were. I mean, I just made those, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna gently put them in my water, right? And I've got a little strainer to pull them out. And what I like to do is put them in, a few at a time. I wouldn't put in a whole clump at a time because they'll stick together in there. Sometimes they're tough to get out, okay? So we're gonna pop them in there. I'm gonna put all these in because this is about one portion of gnocchi, okay? And look at that, beautiful. The moment they hit the water, they're gonna start to cook. And remember, I don't like to do a rapid boil, if I didn't say this earlier, because they're delicate. Gnocchi's delicate, right? Especially the ones we just made. They're nice and airy. They're not going to be hard, lumpy, rubbery. That's a problem sometimes if you buy them in the store. I'm not saying they're not going to be good, but you're not really taking advantage of what a gnocchi tastes like. They're supposed to be light and airy and fluffy and really, really delicious, right? So we're going to let these cook. I'm going to turn the heat up just a bit. I got a nice gentle bubble. And what's going to happen is about 2 or 3 minutes will go by, and then they're going to start to float right up to the top. So I'm going to let a couple minutes go by, they'll float, show you exactly what they look like. We're going to plate them, and best part, we're going to eat them. Talk to you guys in a minute. All right, guys, here, you want to come right in here? I'll show you. Now, these were cooking 2-3 minutes, right? 2 to 3 minutes, hey. 2 e 3 minuti, okay? And you see how nice they look? And you see how nice and fluffy. Now, you don't want to overcook them, because what happens, they get too jelly inside. They get gooey if you overcook them. So essentially, let them float, 30 seconds, maybe no more than a minute. They're done, okay? And what you'll see is they can definitely take a little bit of pressure and they'll still hold together, and that's a nice little test. Another thing is throw 1 or 2 in. If you're a little unsure, if it's the first time that you've cooked a gnocchi, throw a couple in there and just let them go 2 or 3 minutes, pull them out, open them up, make sure that everything's cooking, okay? I've done these for, I hate to say how long. Okay, so now I'm going to take my plate, right, and I'm just going to put my gnocchi right in there, okay? Now, how I like to do it is I like to put my gnocchi in. Now, this is not the portion that we're going to have for dinner tonight, okay? This is a secret portion that only the chef gets to taste, okay? So I like to do that, and then what I like to do is put a splash of olive oil, all right? So I'm gonna take a little splash of olive oil, just like a drizzle of olive oil, okay? I'm gonna set that right over here. Then, what I'm gonna do is I get it all coated with the olive oil, okay? That's me, right? And now I'm gonna I've got a vodka sauce. So, oh my God, that's good, okay? And again, when you're making a gnocchi, the gnocchi should hold up on its own. So, when you plate it, you're going to do something like this. Sometimes some of the chefs, I put a little mistake there. Sometimes the chefs will stir it. Sometimes they'll serve it just like this. So I like to just get a little bit of a mix in there. Does that look absolutely... Now, how long did that take? It didn't take long at all. One of the best dishes you'll ever have of Italy. Now let's try that. Oh my God, you can smell the olive oil, you can smell the nutmeg. Oh my God. You want the gnocchi to be delicate. These are, I think they're the best gnocchis I've ever made. Oh my God. That is good. That is good stuff. Oh my God. You know, I could eat this. Should I just eat it? Maybe you could eat up time in the video and just eat up gnocchis. My scary part is all the kids are coming here in a few minutes. So I wanted to eat some without them knowing that I had a lot to eat. So, guys, that's delicious. So much fun. I'm going to talk with my mouth full. So much fun. You can taste the potato, but it's not a harsh flavor by any means. You got the Parmesan cheese, you got the salt, you got the pepper, the olive oil, the egg, and the nutmeg. And everything's got that faint flavor. And then you put the vodka sauce on. Oh my God, absolutely delicious. Truly one of the best flavors of Italy that you'll ever have. And it brings you right back to traditional old Italy. And that's what a gnocchi does for me. Certainly brings me right back to my grandmother's living room and kitchen when we would sit there and make them and enjoy them with the family. Hopefully it's a tradition that you can set for you and your family. Have a great week. Enjoy. Bon appetit. Talk to you guys next week.
It's the